Victor began with a mind capable of re-engineering reality, guided by a moral framework that prioritized the lives of those around him. That foundation vanished during the total extraction of his world. Everything he relied on for emotional stability was deleted in an instant. Those close to him observed the outward signs of grief and assumed he was merely lost in his own sorrow, failing to see the structural collapse occurring within his psyche. His internal world didn't just drift, it broke. The logic he used to navigate existence was now incompatible with a reality that could be so cruel. Removing empathy from a high-functioning intellect forces remaining mental connections to snap and reorganize around a colder center of gravity. To prevent trauma, the mind adopts ruthless efficiency. Human connection becomes a flaw, a vulnerability to be purged. Once a genius concludes that compassion is a liability, their intellect ceases to be a tool for progress and becomes a weapon for self-preservation. Years later, Victor stands accused of atrocities, facing an interrogation centered on his recent violent history. The specific charges involve the systematic consumption of his adversaries' lives, a process where he is accused of literally stealing the breath from their lungs. Traumatic overcorrection drives a person from a state of total helplessness toward a desperate pursuit of absolute dominance. His brilliance is now focused on the technical requirements of revenge, turning his capacity for innovation toward the creation of inescapable agony. He rejects the simplicity of killing his enemies. Instead, he maintains their lives just long enough to ensure their final act is a plea for the death he is withholding. By stripping away his victims' choices, Victor attempts to monopolize all agency in the room. He forces others to inhabit the same powerlessness that once defined his own life. This cruelty functions as a calibrated system. If he controls every variable of his enemy's existence, he ensures he can never be hurt by them again. Victor's final escalation is a claim of authority over mortality itself. He speaks of death as a subordinate entity that moves only when he gives the word. He shifts from a mere mortal to a force treating the laws of nature as a rigid, controlled vortex of his own making. When he decides who is allowed to die and who must continue to suffer, he is acting as the sole arbiter of existence. The human Victor is gone. He no longer operates within the boundaries of consequence or the physical limitations that govern everyone else. The result is a dictatorial control over life that serves as the final logical conclusion of a mind that has fully weaponized its own trauma. The distance between the man who cared for others and the entity that now claims to command death is vast. This version of Victor was not born from a desire for power, but from the wreckage of a life he could not protect. The weight of that loss acted as a solvent, dissolving the moral constraints that once kept his intellect tethered to humanity. He has completed his evolution from a victim of circumstance to a designer of suffering. Victor's story suggests that when a mind designed for deep empathy is completely shattered, it may rebuild itself into something far more dangerous than if it had been born evil.